New York City Hospitality Group webinar. We're so happy that you can be here with us. My name is Derek Sherman. I'm the director of the New York City Hospitality Group. And today we have a very special webinar focusing on optimizing branding and marketing in reopening. The New York City Hospitality Group is a collection of industry professionals that represent various categories of services that are dedicated to servicing the hospitality industry. And we create these webinars based on some of the burning questions in the industry and putting a lot of resources together to provide in the forum of education and shared learning. And today we're going to be Kate Edwards, one of our New York City Hospitality Group members, is going from Kate Edwards and Company, is going to moderate us. And we're excited to have all of you with us. So Kate, take it away.
Good morning. Thanks, Derek. Glad to be here with you. My name's Kate Edwards. I'm from Kate Edwards and Company, and we focus on leadership development and customer engagement and experience. Today's topic is interesting to me. It's about the impact of branding. So branding is something we think of when a restaurant starts, but actually branding is something that really is the through line for your business. And it's something that as people are starting to essentially reopen their concepts, it's something that's coming under a little brighter light. Some people also consider branding to be a little bit of sort of the touchy-feely or the soft spot. And even some people think of it as being a luxury. But in truth, it is the piece that connects with our customers, and it's the piece that defines you as a company through your entire company life cycle. So today, we're going to talk about how that impacts us through the post-COVID world. This is part of our reopening series. We're going to talk about some of the more pertinent and timely pieces that branding and marketing your brand can really help you with as a company and as a culture. So I'd like to just start by saying that we'll go through this panelist by panelist. We also really appreciated the questions that you asked at registration, so we will be naturally responding to some of those questions as we go. We'll also be posing some questions at the end. We're leaving 10 minutes at the end for Q&A, so we have some specific questions highlighted to answer. And if you have additional things to ask that as they come up, please put them in the chat. Our panelists can respond there, and we can also answer them later when we have time. All right, let me introduce our first panelist then. Douglas, if you'd like to turn on your video and mic. Floor is yours.
Very good. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And as we were joking before, thank you for giving all of us a reason to shave and get dressed. It's nice. It's great to have you all here. Let me share my screen and get started with our presentation. I own a company called Memo Productions. We've been around forever, and we are an agency that focuses on restaurant branding primarily for clients in the restaurant space. Our work is pretty divided between two camps, strategy and design. On the strategy side, we help our customers put some context around their guest experience. We help them create narratives around why they're doing this and why guests should sort of care about that. And we help them set the stage for broader storytelling, not around only about opening, but long-term storytelling. On the design side, we spend about another half of the time creating visual assets that communicate all of those ideas that we develop in the phase one. Today, we're going to focus primarily on the first half of that equation, which is the strategy side, because as much as I believe that beautiful graphics and beautiful brand assets are an imperative to standing out in the world, I think that probably right now what's more crucial is having a concise and cohesive, and I think brand narrative that has legs. I think we can all agree that 2020 has been a really challenging year. And when I think about the year, I think a lot about this movie, It's a Wonderful Life. I don't know if you've seen it lately. I was going to show a clip, but every time I show clips, I cry. So I thought it would be probably a good idea just to go with a still. But in this movie, George Bailey has a cataclysmic event, like the COVID. His world sort of falls apart. He contemplates throwing himself off a bridge, and then his guardian angel comes by and saves him, and then takes him through a series of steps where he begins to realize how important he was in his community and how much love there is for his community. And he wants to get back in it because now he knows that he's important and he's loved. And I think that as much as we have all been in the depths of COVID and we've all been through the despair, I think we're all now, it's only 6 months in, thank God. I think we're really looking forward to the positive, transformative nature of this experience. In our work in branding, we pretty much focus on two sides of this equation. Your brand exists where your whole persona, why you're doing this, what you serve, how you serve it, where it's served, all of the why and what of what you do overlaps with that whole side of your customers. What are their need sets? Why are they coming to you? What are they looking for? What are their values? And I think that we do a lot of this work when you open a restaurant. And as you've been open for years, a lot of external forces make this sort of, they encroach on these ideas, and nothing like a good pandemic to close us down for a little while to make us realize exactly what's important. And I think it's a great opportunity to come back to this exercise and use that as a way to refocus who you are, and then open, hopefully, with a refocused narrative and one that is going to cut through some clutter. On the you side of who you are, we do versions of these exercises and more with all of our clients. And it always starts with the most basic question: who are you? And besides making a profit, why are you doing this? Lord knows there are a million better ways to make $1 million than in the restaurant industry. So what are those drivers that bring you back to this? I know a lot of people that we've spoken to cannot physically, they just can't stay away from their restaurant. There's the pull there that's bringing them back. What are those drivers? Why do you do it? Is it because you present to the world a cuisine of your ancestors or your grandmother, or something that you feel like the world needs to know? Is it as simple as just seeing people leave happier than they were when they came in? I mean, how beautiful right now is that equation? Or is it about that, when you come to work every day, you bring a team together that is all sort of focused on a common goal, and it's through that common goal that you're able to deliver something beautiful to your community. Whatever those goals are, I think it's really a great grounding for everything that you're going to do. And again, these are not new to people. I think it's just a great time to revisit what those really are. Next, and I think that these all play into each other very nicely. The next are the ideas of the top emotional benefits that you deliver that go way beyond the food. Food is always a part of it, but I think that food without emotion is kind of like an automat in my mind. I spoke to Dina Siegelbaum, who's the head of brand for a client of ours, Zucker's Bagels, and she said something quite beautiful, that their food provides a sense of nostalgia, memory, history, and connection that customers all over the country are really craving right now. At a time when the world has seemed to lost its mooring, Zucker's delivers a tradition that really provides comfort to their customers, which is a beautiful, beautiful way of saying, what their brand is all about. It's a way to revisit history. It's a way to talk about the culture of the food. It's a way to bring back memories of a New York experience, or experience that they might have missed if they're around the rest of the country. Additionally, another exercise that we find, you might find a little on the morbid side, but is the write an obituary for your restaurant. It's really harsh, but it's brutally honest. If you've ever had to write an obituary for a loved one, it's a great opportunity to focus on why that person was meaningful to you. We've all seen what New York City is like without restaurants, and we know that it's not a pretty place, right? So try to do this. I think it's great. What is it that you provide that no one else provides? If you closed tomorrow or never reopened, what would customers never find anywhere else? And even for you personally, if your restaurant never opened, what would be the emotion, what were the things that you do there that would pain you the most to give up? Again, I think that refocusing the why you're doing this question is gonna really give you a leg up in the reopening and in the brand storytelling department. And then on the other side of the equation, there are some tactics that we use to, and I think this is a great time to employ them, to really get to know what your customers are looking for. Matt Pomerantz, who's one of the owners of Zucker's, also said something to me the other day that I really thought, again, was just super beautiful. He said that customers are not petty right now. They are absolutely effusive with the love and the comments and the just general gratitude for what restaurants are doing. And what a great way, like sometimes you have to troll the Yelp to find out why people love you, but I think that people are going out of their way to tell restaurateurs why they're important in their community or in their lives. And I think that that is knowledge that will be seminal and super important to your brand moving forward. It cuts through, and these are things that you might have lost track of over the years if you've been in business for 10 or 15 years, but now is a time to really refocus that. Another tactic that we sometimes use, and it's actually not really a branding tactic, but it does have brand implications, is the 80-20 rule. The idea that 80% of your sales come from 20% of your items on the menu. We went through this exercise with Adam Lathan from Gumbo Brothers, who's going to talk later today. You know, paring down your menu has lots of ramifications, both internally and externally. For your team, I get the sense that people are working with a bit of a skeleton team. And so simplifying operations, simplifying purveying, simplifying ticket time, all of those just operational benefits of a simpler menu is going to give you the ability to just put out more food fast, which will always be a plus. But on a brand side, it gives you the opportunity to really focus what you serve and in turn focus how customers see you and how they view your brand in terms of the competition, right? It does no longer, I don't think the strategy is, I want to appeal to everyone by selling everything that we possibly can. I think a better strategy is, let's focus on our best sellers and the things that really define us as a brand, because that's going to really help you stand out in the marketplace. And lastly, a sort of touchy subject, but very, very, very of the moment. If there's anything that we have learned since the tragic death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, it is that the world is ripe for a reassessment of values, both personally, both corporate, both governmentally. And I know that in my life, I have totally Marie Kondo'd the hell out of my relationships. I don't want to spend time with people, brands, experiences that don't bring me joy. 100%, like I have no time for things that do not do that, top to bottom. But also, I don't have time anymore for brands that I have to sort of look the other way about questionable practices. And I know that millennials, Gen Z, you know, that sector of the customer base puts a lot of stock in that, as well they should. They are calling out brands for not being true and not being honest. And I think that this is a great time to really sit down and say what's important to us, both in terms of our community. There's a lot of talk about food inequality and food insecurity. And there are so many issues at hand in the world of restaurants. And I think that this is a great time to revisit those and make sure that they are communicated to your customers, because saying nothing is not an option anymore. And then internally, I also feel like it's a great way to focus your team. You know, let your team know why they're doing this. It is a great galvanizing tool for your internal workers. And then the last slide before I turn it over to Juliana, I think there's this idea that post-COVID, your brand has to somehow change. And I think that it's a great moment to think about what are tactical changes, versus what are actual brand changes. You can change your service model. You can change the interior layout of your restaurant. You can change the percentage delivery versus dine-in. There's a million things that you can change. I think it would be remiss to let those things begin to encroach on your brand narrative or sort of reframe the brand narrative. I think right now you want to be truer to what your brand narrative is and truer to who you really are, because let's not let those other concerns sort of redefine who you are. I think customers know what the drill is. There's going to be a lot of messaging around how to be distant, how to be clean, how to do all of the things that we need to combat the COVID. And it's going to create a sea of sameness. And the best way to stand out is to be true to yourself with a real, honest to God, differentiated message. I liken it to a sauce. If you take a rather bland sauce, you know, and boil it down for 5 or 6 hours, you get a really reduced, really beautiful sauce that can sing on a plate and cut through a whole host of other flavors. I think brand storytelling is a lot like that, right? Now's the time to boil down what you have and get to the root of it, because it's only with the root of that that you're going to be able to stand out. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Juliana, who is going to give us a bunch of tactics, and then Jimmy is going to take that even a step further about how to communicate these ideas on a large scale. So Juliana, you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Douglas. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real fast. Okay. All right, hi. I'm Juliana Pesavento. I'm the Vice President of Simmer Group, which is a hospitality branding and marketing agency. Prior to Simmer, I spent 10 years at Wagstaff Media and Marketing, which is a hospitality-focused PR agency. So my background is in communication strategies, and I work with clients all over the country on plans for openings, concept pivots, expansions, and more. So now that Douglas has talked us through who you are, keeping all of that in mind, the next step is what you will say. So when you say we're open, it should be authentic to you, getting everybody excited about what you're doing and why they should really care. Getting your opening messaging in line is so important so that when you're ready to make that move, people are hearing what you want them to hear and what they need to hear. So I'm going to mention a few things to keep in mind that have proven successful from markets that we have seen kind of go first in this reopening phase. And my recommendation is to think about these key things internally so that when you have all of these details in place, you're ready to share them with the world. So first and foremost, instilling confidence amongst your guests. This has proven to be the most important thing that people are concerned about when they think about dining out and what a reopen looks like. So nailing internally what you're doing to make them feel safe is super important. A lot of us in the industry have been thinking about these topics for months, and it really comes second nature to us. But to put yourself in your guest's shoes, this might be a completely new experience that they haven't had in months. So what are you doing at your restaurant? Is your staff going to be wearing masks? Are you keeping your outdoor tables 6 feet apart, upping your cleaning game? Finding out ways to communicate that with your guests is going to be pretty key, and these are definitely things that guests want to know. Explain the kind of experience your guests will have. So are you opening with outdoor seating? If you've really upped your takeout game, are you continuing to offer a robust to-go program? Maybe during the pandemic, you pivoted to sell pantry items. Are you still offering that? When you're ready to accommodate guests, how large of a party are you going to be taking? So thinking about all of the questions that your guests would have and answering them before they have the chance to ask creates a much more seamless experience. And then describing what reopening means for you. So this is going to be different for every single person. For you, are you operating with limited hours? If you've taken reservations in the past, are you requiring people to book this time? If you haven't taken reservations in the past, is this now an option for guests? So having all of these key points internally figured out before you share your opening with the world is very important. So now we'll move into how you'll say it now that you have all of these points locked in. So there are a few different buckets of media, if you will, that we'll go through today. Owned, earned, paid, and influencers. So owned, Jimmy is going to dive into this a little bit further, but key things to think about are your website. So making sure that the most up-to-date information is on there. We know how quickly things are changing, and your guests are going to your website to get the most up-to-date information on whether you're open, your hours, and how they can visit you. So if you don't have these channels up to date, you may lose them along the way in the customer journey. Social channels, so same thing goes for social media. This is an opportunity to make sure that your guests are hearing the information that they want and need to hear in a way that is authentic to you. So I do remember that when the first initial guidelines were released on what a reopen could look like, the Smith had posted a pretty humorous Instagram video that featured a more satirical take, if you will, on what the guest experience would be like with service staff having to stand 6 feet away. And this is just, I think they really capitalized on that opportunity to show a little bit of their personality. So take what you share on social and make it your own. And then email marketing. If you have your guest contact information and you've never distributed email marketing before, now is definitely the time. This is something that we frequently recommend for our clients at Simmer. You might have your guests' emails from a Square POS system, past reservation platforms, and if you do have their contact info, these are people that have visited your establishment in the past. So get them back and get in their inbox. There are a lot of email platforms that are pretty easy to use. So definitely.
Hey, Juliana, I'm just going to interrupt you for one quick second. We're not seeing your slides forward at all, so it feels like we might be missing out on something important.
Oh no, thank you. What are you seeing now?
Still your opening slide.
Oh no. Oh shoot. You've missed some of my slides.
Yeah.
Can you see them now?
Yeah, now we see stuff.
Okay, so you might have the border. So forgive me, but I don't think my full screen is working.
Yeah, we're on page 3 and now we're on page 4.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move along. So we've missed a couple slides, but that's okay. The visuals aren't like super stunning on this anyways, so it's more about the content. Okay, so now I'll get into earned media. So this is traditional PR. So think websites, magazines, newspapers, TV. If you have a PR team or internal marketing manager, they should be all over this. Definitely remember to give them ample time to get your word out about your opening or reopening. There are several companies here in New York that have put together plans that are specific to reopening, keeping in mind budget and time. This is something that we've done at Simmer too. So we know that people need to get messages out immediately, but giving at least a week if you can to have whoever is communicating your message and plan is something that I would definitely recommend. If you don't have an internal marketing person or an outside agency, that's okay. Media want to know what you're doing and who's opening so they're able to inform their readers with the latest information. So on this slide, which hopefully you can see now, here are some media outlets that have continued to update their readers on a list of openings, closures, and concept pivots during coronavirus. So if you don't have a direct line with these people, email their general info at email addresses. DM them on Instagram, find them on LinkedIn. If you want to screenshot this slide, please do, because I think that this is, these channels are a great way to get people aware of what you're doing, and they definitely want to help. All right, so paid media. There are tons of different ways to use paid media. The two I'll touch on today are social advertising and EDDM, which stands for Everyday Direct Mailer. So paid media via social can be super inexpensive and effective. As long as you have a business account set up on Facebook and Instagram, you can create targeted ads aimed at hitting your exact demographic by way of geography and interest. Budget can be completely up to you. If you have $50 to spend, fantastic. If you have a larger budget to spend, that's great too. But taking advantage of the social advertising on Instagram and Facebook can be incredibly effective. And then if you have a little bit more time to plan and a larger budget, and it's the right channel for you, everyday direct mailers are a system through the USPS. So you can design a physical postcard or flyer and then send it to specific streets surrounding your establishment. So these flyers or posters could end up in your future guests or current guests' mailboxes. And then influencers. So influencers kind of straddle the line between earned and paid. Some influencers support restaurants by visiting their establishments in exchange for comped meals. Others require payment. Some people on this call might love influencers. Some people on this call might loathe them, but I would not discount the effectiveness of using influencers in a reopening strategy. Having them share a photo with messaging about what your reopening looks like could be incredibly impactful on your business. And given the pandemic, I've also seen influencers more willing to share photos and information from the restaurants themselves and not without going in to visit. So take a look at any influencers that have visited you in the past, contact them, let them know what the latest is with your business, and use them as another channel to get the word out. And then my last tip is tell absolutely everyone. So you can think of this as grassroots marketing if you want, but shout it from the rooftops. Tell your POS system representative, your architect, your lawyer, your employee uniform provider, your friends and family, and tell them to tell their friends and family. Encouraging your employees to share your reopening with their network and posting on their social pages can be effective. Definitely don't be shy here. You've worked incredibly hard to make it through this pandemic, and you want everyone to know what you're doing in this next phase to make it successful. So those are a few communications tips from me today. Here's my contact info if anyone wants to touch base afterwards. And with that, I will throw it over to Jimmy Page, who is going to share even more valuable information on all things marketing.
Thank you very much, Juliana. And thanks to Kate and Douglas too, for sharing all the information. I'm gonna try and expand off some of the insights that everybody else has been able to share thus far today. Whoops. All right. If the slides are not changing, please, Kate, flag me as you were able to do for Juliana. So hello, everybody today. My name is Jimmy Page. I'm the president and founder of Hudson Creative. Hudson Creative is a digital marketing agency that helps restaurant groups find more guests who are searching for them online. I have 10 years of experience in website development. I started this company 10 years ago as a freelancer, helping small businesses build websites. And I think I really got into online search because as we would build a new website for somebody, the question kept coming back to me that, you know, the website looks great and everything's wonderful, but I can't find it in Google. So I became obsessed with how Google search works and really just how people search for things online to find the thing that they're looking for, which is, it's a really big factor when you're considering your restaurant digital marketing strategy. I've had the opportunity to help guide online marketing strategy for some really notable restaurant brands like Wolfgang Puck Catering, Patina Restaurant Group, Urban Space. I know there's a few of you out there on the call today. LDV Hospitality, Estiatorio Milos, and a few others. So what I really want to do is talk to you about some of the strategies that we've developed with these clients surrounding COVID and the reopening after COVID, and share those with you today as it pertains to digital. So it's clear that, you know, during the coronavirus pandemic, communication has shifted in a monumental way. And man, have things changed quickly. You know, I can remember back to mid-March when, you know, there was a period of time where we weren't sure if schools were going to close. We weren't sure if restaurants were going to close. And then all of a sudden, you know, restaurants were closed. Everything was closed. We were forced to quarantine. And life changed really quickly. So, oops, sorry about that. Okay. Dealing with some technical difficulties here. As I was saying, life has changed very quickly during the coronavirus pandemic. It's put a lot of emphasis on how we communicate with each other digitally, because as things change really quickly, the only way to get in touch with your guests about these things that are changing has been to communicate with them digitally. So, you know, there's been a lot of thought and effort that's gone into how you're going to operate your restaurant right now. You know, restaurants couldn't even open, and then they were allowed to offer takeout, and then they could offer cocktails to go, as if that was supposed to be some sort of money tree, how everybody would get their business back. And the way that the way that you've put together your operational plan has taken a lot of thought and effort on your part. And what I want to remind you about today is that, you know, the most important part of that plan to your guests is how you communicate it with them. Even if your restaurant is extremely clean and you've gone through measures to make sure that that's happening, if you don't communicate that to your guests, they're not going to know to feel comfortable in your space. And if you're trying to get guests to, you know, use your website to put in an online order rather than using like a third-party network like Grubhub, if you don't communicate that to them through email or through your website or some other way, they're never going to know that that's what you want them to do. So how you communicate with your guests digitally in this time is going to be really important, a really important piece of your reopening plan. So I'm just going to exit full screen and use this.
It looks like you're trying to get your screen going.
Yeah, it just kept skipping ahead to the next slide. So I'm just going to do without that and use this.
Yeah, we can't see it at all, just so you're aware.
Okay, so let's try and fix this. Sorry about that.
Thanks for hanging in with us, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you go. Beautiful.
Wonderful. So as digital communication has taken on a new life during this period of time, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about digital marketing strategy. So your digital marketing strategy can feel at times really intimidating. There are so many different social media networks alone. There's so many different ways that you can build your website, whether it's on WordPress or Bento Box. There's so many different online ordering platforms that you can choose from. So when you start to think about digital marketing strategy, it can feel really intimidating. So what I want to do for you today is sort of break that down into 6 different categories to make it easy for you to think about digital marketing strategy. There are only 6 different ways that people can get to your website online. And the 6 different ways that people can get to your website really doubles as a digital marketing strategy. And all digital marketing strategy is looking at these 6 different categories, deciding which one is giving you the best return on your investment, and then focusing your effort on that category that's giving you the highest return. Direct traffic is when people type in the URL to your website directly. Organic search traffic is when people Google you and find your website. Referral traffic is what Juliana was referring to when she was talking about earned media. Email marketing, social media, and paid advertisements. So, like we said, digital marketing is as simple as this, just looking at these categories and finding out which one works the best for you and for your messaging. I'd like to focus on 3 of these channels today as it pertains to your COVID reopening plan. And these 3 areas are what we call first-party marketing data. So first-party marketing data can include 3 areas. It's your email subscribers, the customer list of people that you email blast to, the people who follow you and tune in on social media, and then also the people who visit your website and tune into your messaging on your website. Why is first-party marketing data important? Why are we focusing on these 3 areas? These are the simplest, least expensive way to get your message out to your guests. You can think of these 3 categories like a free microphone that you can use at any time to reach an audience who actually wants to hear what you have to say. So that's why these areas are so important. And I think during coronavirus this period of time particularly, these three areas have been almost a silver lining on some people's digital marketing strategy. These areas, despite the fact that there's so many other struggles going on, like these are three areas where people have been able to increase email subscribers, increase social media followers, and increase website followers during this period of time, because since nobody knows what's going on, they're tuning in to email, social, and your website to find out information about the businesses that they love and what's going on with those businesses. So this has really been an opportunity for all of us to engage with people on these digital channels, because people are listening more now than ever. And if you're sitting there thinking like, oh my God, we have been dealing with getting our rent taken care of and are taking care of our employees, and we haven't had time to think about these things, it's okay. It's not too late. I think your reopening plan can incorporate these three things. And this can be your opportunity to get jumpstart your email newsletter or start posting on social regularly. So again, like if you haven't focused on these things, it's okay. But I think I would turn your head towards them and pay a little attention as you open, because like we said, no matter how hard you've worked to put together your operating plan, if you aren't telling your guests about it, they're never going to know. Why else is first-party marketing data important? I think there's a lot of operators and business owners and restaurant owners on the call today, and like first-party marketing data can very literally increase the value of your business. It can increase the sale price of your business. The more email address and contact lists that you have, the better ability you have to touch into customer lifetime value, and not just thinking about customers as that one purchase there with you in that interaction, but thinking about the lifetime value of a customer and your relationship with them over a longer period of time. I think that first-party marketing data has a big impact on customer lifetime value. And I think the other reason that first-party marketing data can be so important is because you can use it to drive down your advertising cost. So advertising networks like Google or Facebook, you can actually upload either your email list or tap into your social media followers to create an advertising audience that will help you save money on your advertising budget and reach a more qualified audience. So in closing, we've talked a lot about marketing and branding today, and to simply put what marketing is how we communicate with our audience. How will you communicate your reopening plan? Is this going to be your opportunity to jumpstart your mailing list? Is this going to be your opportunity to start posting regularly on social media? Maybe this is, your opportunity to get the messaging right on your website so that when people visit your website, they know when you're going to reopen and what's going to be available on your menu. And just as a resource offering to let everybody know on the call today, NYCHG is a resource group. So one of the things that Hudson Creative is doing during this time is offering free website updates to people that are having issues updating their website right now, because these things are very easy for us to do. And a lot of people are in a situation where the person who used to work there on their website doesn't work there right now, or they owe money to an agency who refuses to update their website. So if anybody has questions and they're in a jam and they need help updating their website, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with you about it, and we're happy to help free of charge. So in closing, I want to talk kind of reiterate what Juliana touched on, is that your reopening plan and how you market your reopening plan, get excited about it. Jump up on the rooftops and shout it from the rooftops. The restaurant and the business that you have is something you're really excited about, and it's something that means a lot to you. So make sure to use these digital marketing channels to communicate with people where they're listening so that you can let them know about your reopening plan. And I think one final thought is that as you're speaking to people using digital communication, think about your audience in two different categories. Existing guests, who are your regulars. These are the people you want to reach out to using your first-party marketing channels, email, social, and your website. These are the people who are already tuned into what you're saying, and they're excited to hear about you. So existing guests would be first-party marketing channels. And then when you're thinking about new guests, Really, the channels that you're looking at would be advertising, which could focus on Google advertising, Facebook advertising, search engine optimization, or other ways to get new guests. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Adam Lathan of Gumbo Brothers, who's going to give the operator side point of view.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks. Thanks to the group for having me. Really happy to be here and share kind of what I'm seeing, I guess, as we have reopened now. We've been open now for about 1 month. And I guess what I'm going to talk about is a little bit more of the operational side of things and how taking what everyone here is talking about and putting it into play. And so for us, I mean, quick background on us as a company. The Gumbo Bros is New York's first real like po' boy shop. Myself and my business partner from the New Orleans area, we moved up here about 10 years ago, started small with markets and pop-ups and sort of grew the company and the brand from a part-time thing to a full-time restaurant. So for us, obviously we have this story to tell with, ourselves, our food, and kind of where we're from. So from a branding standpoint, I think really we just wanted from day one before COVID was always just to tell the story of our food and, our culture, where we're from, and just display that openly with people. So after COVID, I sat down and I looked at all kinds of options as far as what we're going to do to open. How are we going to reopen? How are we going to, reinvigorate people and potentially get people to come back? We closed for about 6-7 weeks during the height of the virus. And in that time, I reached out to, some of the panelists here, Jimmy, Douglas, other friends, and just tried to get as much information as possible. And at the end of the day, I think for us, we were trying to figure out what we can do from an operational standpoint that can just get us to survive, because I think everybody knows right now, no one's thriving. Nothing is great or business as usual. It's more about like, what do we need to do and what do operations we need to put into place to just get us back to hopefully normal, breaking even, starting to pay those bills down, and also to serve our guests. And you have to walk that line of trying to figure out from a financial standpoint what makes sense, what's selling, and also trying to bring that brand experience to your guests. I think what Douglas talked about and what we had discussed like in the early stages of opening or reopening was just that 80-20. I printed out my sales from the last 3 years of operations and just blindly looked at the numbers. And it's pretty simple for me. We see what sells and you cut everything that doesn't. Right now, from an operating standpoint, I'm having a lot of issues with staff. I have a lot of people who are not going to come back. I've had some that have moved. I'm having to retrain people. And for us, I mean, we just have to we kind of had to rewrite the whole playbook. So for us, we were like, let's figure out what is selling, what people want right now, and give that to them in an authentic manner. So for us, I think simplicity and comfort is what people really want right now, which is something that I think that we as a company have always provided. I mean, we sell gumbo and po' boys and a couple of simple sides. So for us, it was pretty in line with what we had already been doing. But operationally, I wanted to figure out how I can take everything and just minimalize it. So now we've gone, 2 gumbos, 3 sandwiches. Those sandwiches are available. They're catfish, fried chicken tenders, and shrimp, top selling items. What we've done is taken them from the sandwich version and also thrown them into what we call a basket, which is selling like crazy. You can never underestimate the simplicity of like fried comfort. And that's really what people want from us. So I think finding that in your operation will, continue to tell your story. It will make your customers happy, and it'll also help you in an operational standpoint, and it'll help obviously your employees, because things are a lot easier with our inventory systems, with our prep, with a lot of things that we do around here, because we've taken the menu and just completely eliminated a lot of those things that we would do when we're at full capacity, but we're just not right now. And also operationally, you have to think what travels well, what makes sense. If I put this thing, this food in a box, seal it up, and no one's going to open the box for 40 minutes. That was the first thing we did when we got back. We started testing things, putting them in boxes, labeling them, timing them, and just leaving them out. We make 10 different versions of one item and try it 30 to 40 minutes later, because we figured that's the estimate to when it's going to get to your door and you open it up. So we had to change around a couple of things, our breading and our oils if we're frying something. We changed up our French fries. I mean, we used to do these really great thin cut French fries that I loved and they sold really well. We switched over, sorry, I'm in my office. We switched over to a waffle fry because it simply travels better. It has more mass, it holds heat better, and 30 to 40 minutes later, it's still hot and a little bit crispier. So I guess in total, I guess I would just say that, for us, finding your branding strategy, it doesn't have to be as complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just is as simple as staying true to who you are as a company and what your customers really want. Because right now it's about just giving people what they want. And we found a very simple menu is the way to go. I think another cool thing that we've done, we do Louisiana crawfish boils. We ship up live crawfish, go out to LaGuardia, pick them up, and boil crawfish. We used to do every Sunday in-house. And that, I think, has been the one thing that has really resonated with people for us. And it's something that we're becoming known for, like in our community and within our customer base, because it's making people happy. It's when we first opened up, I mean, there's a line around the block, and we sell out every week. I think what that's doing is making people happy, and it's, again, kind of pushing your brand without it being this loud. It doesn't have to be, advertising or something that you pay for, like what, everyone's talked about. It's just like staying true to the company, doing what you do. I mean, there was a lot of people, I did a podcast right after COVID went down, and the host was like, well, this is really bad because y'all are probably never going to be able to do crawfish boils again. And, it was the first time I think that really hit me, that we might not be able to provide that for people. And it's become our most popular item. So for us, we, found a way. We do contactless pickup, order ahead online. It's all available. You can go to our website, you can order, pick your time. When it's ready, we got a bag ready, we hand it to you, and you're on your way. So for us, like, jumping over the hurdles of thinking that you couldn't operate normally to try to just get back to normal and do what you need to do to survive. I think that's been my biggest takeaway from the whole experience. So I think that's going to be it for me. I think we're going to go now to a little Q&A section. So I'm going to put my email also in here. If anybody has anything, questions, feel free to contact me. And thanks for the time.
Thanks so much, Adam. We really appreciate your insight. And I'll invite all of our panelists to turn on their video as we begin the Q&A section. Since, Adam, you were the last person to speak, one question I had for you was, you've made a number of changes. You identified your top sellers. First, have you been successful with that model? And what will you continue to do once things go back to a little bit more of what we used to do?
Yeah, we found a lot of success in the delivery takeout model, simply because it has eliminated so much labor for us. And also myself and my business partner are simply just working more than usual just to do what we have to do to keep the lights on. It's hard to say. Every time, people ask me how things are going, I always say, like, ask me next week, because the way I see things is I see things week by week. That's how my vendors operate in terms of payment. That's how my orders operate. That's how we look at sales. Try not to focus on one day. We focus week to week. So for us, we are taking things week to week. But as of right now, it is hard to think about what type of model we will be post-COVID, or what, I think a lot of that's going to be dictated by the customer. And I think that people are going to want to come back and sit down eventually once they feel safe, once they feel comfortable. But I think that, given where we are in the middle of New York, I don't think that's going to be for some time. So for the time being, I think we can hang on, and that's what we're going to keep fighting to do.
Wonderful. So Juliana just posted that we are going to attempt to get to all the questions. Please send them to the either the Q&A or the chat. But if you have additional questions, please go check out our Facebook page. The link is in the chat for everybody. One comment that Paul Leatherman made on the chat was that your crawfish boil is a great example of getting emotions going with your customer base. And, I think this is a really good example for this conversation of, how to make your brand resonate emotionally, because that's something that Douglas brought up first of all, and now here we are with a real life example. So thanks for calling that out, Paul. One question that I wanted to start off with is for Douglas. So this came in our registration from Taryn Brandeis. Does one's branding need to be redefined in order to reopen as a method for differentiation or for COVID-specific messaging? So redefining your brand, is that important?
I don't think you're redefining your brand. Obviously, COVID considerations are a new communication thread because they deal with safety and comfort and tactical changes that you've made in your restaurant experience. But I don't think they're ever gonna supplant or take the place of your core brand mission about what you are. And I think that the truth is that I think that the COVID considerations are pretty ubiquitous at every restaurant. So they will create a sea of blandness, like we said before. And I worry that focusing too much on those, while they are important, but I think that they will just make you do the opposite of what branding is meant to do, which is stand out.
Great, thank you. We just got a question in for Adam from Mario Rodriguez. Adam, how will you change your model for future establishments? And do you have future growth as part of your plan?
We do. We do have, what's funny is at the start of COVID, we were in the process of I was within weeks of signing a new lease. That plan was thrown out and basically started over from scratch. So I think we are still looking at that operationally. We don't think it makes sense right now to just kind of plow through this and see what comes out on the other end. But we are still looking at other plans. We were ready to go, and this happened. I think we signed like an LOI. I think like 5 days before we shut down the restaurant. So everything happened quickly. And I think the one thing I've told everyone I know from an operational standpoint is we don't know it now, and it really sucks. And I'm probably trying to silver line this too much, but I think that everyone who is a part of this it's going to make you a better business person on the back end, and it's going to make you a better operator, and it's going to make you a better pretty much everything. I think we can all agree. But for us, we're just going to focus on this location, and then potentially we will look into the growth once we find out where we are, because we still don't know this fall, what might happen. If there's going to be a vaccine, I don't think that things are going to be normal until there is a vaccine, quite frankly. So everyone says that's coming. I don't know. That's not my expertise. I'm just going to, again, try to take it week by week. But I think that this model does actually make a lot of sense. And I think it, this unfortunate situation is really going to be influential for the ghost kitchen model and all these sort of progressive future of restaurants that we've kind of heard about before COVID. And now it's playing right into them, because we practically are a ghost kitchen, and pretty much everybody is. I don't plan on opening my dining room for some time, even in the early stages of, if we get to 25, 50% or whatever the next phase might be. Operationally, it doesn't make sense, because we can actually turn a profit with just this delivery system, because it is eliminated labor. And that's another conversation as far as when or how we adapt to that. But yeah.
So week by week then.
Yes.
Thank you. Here's a question for Jimmy. What are your suggestions for tech that helps restaurants gain awareness from, acquire, and retain more customers? Quickly, what's your top?
I would say going back to what I was talking about between your regulars, your existing guests, or targeting new guests, using like email and social media with your existing followers, those are going to be your regulars. If you're looking to target new guests, you're going to have to get out there and look at some other tactics online, like advertising, maybe offline, like PR or influencers. Search engine optimization would be another digital strategy. So digitally, I would say focusing on Google advertising, Facebook advertising, or longer term growth like search engine optimization.
Great, thank you. One quick question for Juliana. We had a couple questions around new concepts. So if you've never been open, and this truly is your opening, any quick advice for those folks?
Yeah, think of this as a robust opening plan. On the PR side of things, taking into consideration everything I said, but making sure your messaging is in line. Do you have a press release that you're going out with? How are you communicating that to the media? So on the PR side of things, making sure that you have a strong plan in place when you're opening your doors. If you open your doors and expect people to come, that you're not properly planning, I don't think. You need to have a plan in place to get people in there, especially considering foot traffic right now is substantially lower than it normally is. So are there media partnerships that you can activate to get the word out?
Great, thank you. We have a bunch more cues and not enough time. So I will advise folks to look at the Facebook page, because we will attempt to answer those questions on the page, and also feel free to send them to the hotline that we have. That will be the best way to do it. I know, Derek, you wanted to share a couple of things, and I also wanted to just earmark our next upcoming event, which will be on the 18th. What we're going to do is shine a light on nightlife, and our conversation will feature Karen Vaughn from Vaughn, if you know this almost 30-year-old bar on the Lower East Side. We'll talk with Johnny Sweat, who's an owner of a successful bar in Greenpoint, as well as he's a consultant as well. And Elke Hoffman, one of our members, who's a lawyer and who helps people navigate both lease and also liquor licenses, will be on that next event, which will be on the 18th. Remind me what time that is, Derek?
It's either 11 or noon. I'm not sure yet, but we'll send out a notification.
Great, thank you. Over to you, Derek.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you for the panelists, for the time and the preparation that went into this conversation, and for the participants and their engagement. Just to reiterate, the New York City Hospitality Group is made up of best-in-class professionals representing all different categories of services that service the hospitality industry. If you haven't already, please visit our website. Our experts are available to sort of answer any questions and engage in any dialogue. These events don't happen without your feedback, so we encourage you to reach out to us and let us know what you want to hear about. What are the burning questions of today? There will be a video recording available of today's event should you want to share it with your teams. I just wanted to thank you all again for being here, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.